Hello everyone and welcome along to another rugby discussion as we preview the matches coming up this weekend. And boy, we have a couple of absolute stunners as well. Like usual, 3 teams were announced very early this week, and then there was the one left over that took its time to come out. And this week I'm blaming Argentina for releasing their team so late and not allowing me to bring this video to you guys sooner. But here we go, we've got 4 squads and we have some crackers coming up this weekend. The wee small hours for people here in New Zealand and to some point Australia as well. For me it will be a 3 AM kickoff for our match number 1, which is South Africa up against New Zealand. Then it will be approximately sometime around 10 AM on Sunday for the Australian-Argentina match. 2 games which I think really complement what happened last week as well. So with that in mind, let's check out the 2 matches we have in store. Have a quick, and I mean that, hopefully quick look at what we have to look forward to this Sunday for our rugby, or Saturday if you're in Argentina or South Africa, which is just fantastic. So, first up, we have possibly the biggest match of them all, the biggest, just absolute stunning fixture. This one is just the pinnacle of the rivalry between New Zealand and South Africa. Of course, at Ellis Park, the cauldron, the white-hot atmosphere in South Africa, a massive history where South Africa really have the upper hand in as well. And it's one place, if any place, that South Africa will want to meet the All Blacks. It is in Johannesburg, and we have seen some huge historical matches there over the years. The last time they met was just an absolute furious match of high pace, high speed, tries, line breaks. It all happened. It was a huge match. It was so aggressive, so fast, and it made for fantastic viewing that I think everyone is expecting for this match between the All Blacks and the Springboks. Now, South Africa first up, their home side have made a few changes for their team coming into this match. 3 changes in the first team and 4 on the bench. In the first team, of course, it is Diego in the second row. Of course, Brousseau, who's been making quite a few headlines around the rugby world with his long hiatus away from Test match rugby. So he is back, as well as a man we spoke of last week a bit, which was Cornell Hendricks, making a return on the wing. So that's good to see him back. And of course, the injuries as well are what has changed the other 2 positions. Of course, Matfield is out and so is Kudzia. So that has really forced their hand. And JP Peterson is the one who has gone out for, of course, Hendricks. So a lot of changes here for the Springboks. And on the bench, of course, Kosh, Whiteley, Naikani, and Van der Merwe. And Mapoe as well. So a few changes there. 5, in fact, I should say, on the bench. Not 4, more than I thought. So they're the new faces on the bench. Almost a completely new bench as well for the Springboks, which I know a lot of people were saying last week that the bench, including me as well, I said it as well, the bench is what lost them that match against Australia. The changes coming on is what lost it for them. So those 5 changes, plus of course, Renak Lambie is still there, and Adrian Strauss is still there as well. So they're the 3 that remain. The others all changes, but you have to say, was it the people that come on, or was it the timing that they come on when South Africa really had their upper hand and they really threw it away with making those changes just wholesale like that? Just everyone went bang and they're gone. The whole team just about of the bench was on, and it just killed the momentum. And well, ultimately it was a catalyst to the downslide of the Springboks. So that's the changes, but South Africa have some real issues with injuries. I think this competition is going to help them blood some new players, as we've seen all 4 sides in this weekend's action has really put a look forward towards the World Cup with some changes that aren't their best team, but their depth and they're trying things, which I'm happy to see about the Australians. Last week I feel the Australians just didn't really try anything new. They played a safe 15 and they were looking you can't blame them for the result, to get their season off to a good start, to show that they're capable of winning. They're not as bad as their, at the time, 6th ranking in the world showed, which, you know, it must be a record low almost for an Australian side to be when they were down at 6. They have since come up to 5th position. But South Africa, we go back to where I started here. Of course, the injuries is forcing their hand to try the other options, to try the fringe players, because, you know, they've got a hospital full of players. They could almost fill a whole 23, I should say, with players who are injured, which is just not really what you want to be. First line players out of the side, and South Africa really testing their depth here for this match. Another point with the Springboks I'd like to make is I just hope that against the All Blacks they don't kick the ball so much. I know when they're playing at home in South Africa and the hive out and all that sort of thing, the ball flies further, blah blah blah. We all know about that. It's old news. But really, South Africa kicked more than any other side in the first round of the Rugby Championship. New Zealand kicked the least. So that is a contrast of play right there. Instantly, New Zealand will run it back at you. South Africa will give you the chance to counterattack. And let's be fair, we all know the danger of the All Blacks back three. I don't think South Africa can afford to give them too much chances. They've got players back in that back three as well, like Ben Smith, which we'll cover in a second, but they can't afford to give the likes of Ben Smith the chance to run it back. And I just think that could be very, very detrimental towards their chances of winning this match. Willie Leroux, I'm looking at you. You kick far too much for such a talented and skilled runner of the ball, such a fleet-footed player, such ability to stay alive, keep the ball up, to break tackles, to beat tacklers. You know, you really should run the ball a little bit more. Sure, I'm not talking about when you're 5 metres out from your own line. I'm talking about when you're on the 10-metre line. You play territory, but there's a time for territory, and there's a time to run the ball. South Africa, I think, play safe far too often, go for the kick, and as a result, give their opponents too many chances to counter-attack. And of course, if you've got a good counter-attack side, like the All Blacks are, it can be very, very much against you in the overall scheme of the match. Another point, finally, for the Springboks I'd like to bring up before we go through their team is the centre pairing. Now, last weekend, Jesse Kriel was very good. I was impressed by his ability, and I think if he can keep that consistent level up over his South African career, he will be a very, very good outside centre, or we know he's capable of fullback as well. He is going to be a good player for them. He could break the tackles, he is quick, he is good on his feet, good with his hands as well, definitely good offloading, passing, and only 21 years old. He could be a very, very much a long-term prospect for the Springboks in the future, coming in, you know, if he keeps that form and he can play like that consistently against the best teams like Australia. You know, their ranking doesn't do them any justice, but they're still a very good side. And on debut to come in like that, Jesse Kriel played well and looked good as well. So I think I'll tip him for a good Springbok career because he looks the goods. He looked very good, and his try he scored against the Wallabies as well was fantastic. And 9 runs he took in that match, and he got 81 metres, 6 beaten defenders as well, and of course that one clean line break. So a good performance from Kriel. I think he's going to be big for South Africa in the future. But keeping on with Kriel and his midfield partner De Allende, I think they could possibly, now I won't say they will, but it's possible when you look at who they're up against. They are against Conrad Smith and Ma'anonu. This is going to be massive. If De Allende and Kriel can man up here and not dominate, but contain and control their opposition midfield, then South Africa is in a very good chance of getting the result against the All Blacks. And I think, you know, these two players are capable as well of taking out their opponents. They're good enough and they can do it. Kriel and De Allende, I'm picking to have a good match and to negate slightly the attackingness and the control that Ma'anonu and Conrad Smith hold over their midfield. So the South African side going into this match is starting from fullback Willie Leroux, Cornel Hendricks, who I tipped to come into the side last weekend. I'm pretty happy to see him there. He is a fantastic finisher and a very fast man. Jesse Kriel and Damon Dialandi will be in the centre, inside centre, outside centre. Habana on the left wing. Andrew Pollard, who I thought was good in parts last week, but has definitely a lot of room to improve, so I'm interested and excited to see Pollard back in the action. Ruan Pienaar rounds out the backs at halfback. Now we go through the back row, and this is another point that I love about the South African side. Schalkberger captaining the team as well. How massive was he last weekend? Francois Lowe is in there at 7, and then we have Heinrich Brousseau, who will come in at 6. So that's, again, another very, very good back row, full of players who are going to dominate the breakdown. And like the South African coaching staff have said, that is the area that this game is going to be won. In the second row, it's Issa Beef and De Jager, and then the front row, probably, I think, the best front row in the world, Mtawera and the two du Plessis brothers. I am huge fans of that front row. I love that front row. It's aggressive, it's big, it's strong, and it's dominant. And I like that in a front row that is going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and absolutely control it. So that is the South African side. Let's take a look at who they're up against, the All Blacks, and interesting things coming straight through here from the New Zealand side. Two debutants. We have Lema Sopoaga and James Broadhurst in the backs and the forwards. So Sopoaga will start at fly half for first 5, number 10, wherever you're from in the world. And of course, Broadhurst will start in the second row alongside Brodie Retallick. Now, this is going to be interesting, especially Lema Sopoaga. He's a good player. He showed enough in Super Rugby to show that he is capable at a top level of performing, but just the Springboks at Ellis Park, you know, this is the hottest atmosphere you can get. This is the pinnacle. If he performs here, then, well, lock him in, World Cup selection. You are going to England, my friend Lema. If you can nail this one, then you are away. You have to say he's got good support around him, though, Lema Sopoaga. He's got Aaron Smith, a man who he has played beside week in, week out, all Super Rugby season, and the best scrum halfback in the world, no question about that. Aaron Smith will be a massive effect on how Lema Sopoaga plays, and hopefully for him it will be at his usual standard, his usual game plan, and he keeps things consistent. Outside him, of course, is Nonu and Smith making a return as well, together in midfield, and that is a very good calming influence to have outside you. So I'm picking Sopoaga to have a pretty good game. He's a cool customer. He's not going to get flustered, and I hope he just sticks to his game plan, does what he does well, and leaves everyone else's jobs to themselves, because that's the thing with the All Blacks. Do your job well, and trust the fact that the others outside and inside you will also do their job and do it well. There's no making up here for lack of talent or anything like that. The All Blacks should go well with Sopoaga. Of course, they left Carter and Sonny Bill Williams at home. No need for them this week. So there's a number of changes here in this All Blacks side as well. Coles is coming in to the front row at hooker. We have Liam Messam coming to the blind side. Of course, Aaron Smith back in. So same with Sopoaga and Broadhurst, of course, changes as well. Nonu and Conrad Smith back into the centre, pairing, you know, the veterans. These guys, this is going to be the key battle for me. Centres versus centres. That's going to be massive. And of course, the two 10s going at each other. I think Pollard will take the edge on that one. Also, the other changes, Ben Smith coming on to the right wing with the injury to Waisaki Naholo. He is gone for the rest of the season, which leaves me with Israel Dag at the back and that age-old argument. Ben Smith versus Israel Dag. Now, I'll give Israel Dag his dues here because I thought he was quite good against Argentina last week. Ben Smith, though, he's the incumbent. He is the best fullback in the squad. And I think he's only been put at the wing because Israel Dag cannot go anywhere else. We've seen him on the wing before, and he's fairly average, let's be fair. At fullback is his better position. Although he's not playing at the top of his game, he did show improvements last week, I'll give him that. And if he does that again in this match against the Springboks, if he improves, if he comes along and shows, you know, improvement again on that Argentinian match, then fair play that he'll keep his spot at 15. And we'll have again a real big battle between those two. Also, it is the value of changing them up as well. We could see Ben Smith go to fullback and Israel Dag spend some time on the wing. Both are very good under the high ball. Again, Charles Piatel playing on the left wing as well. well. Another good player under the high ball. And then there's also the substitutes to come on. They could see some players switch around. We've seen Beauden Barrett at times play at fullback as well. Could see that again. He's on the bench. Fikatoa, he's going to come in somewhere as well. His first match back from Super Rugby. So I can see again why there's Israel Dagg there, but I just don't understand. Well, I do understand. I just get frustrated as to why he gets so many chances when even at his best, I don't think he is quite a Ben Smith. And at best, he will be an off the bench kind of impact player. But then again, we go to his versatility that just isn't there compared to a player like Ben Smith to come off the bench or to fill other roles around the team. So, you know, that's my viewpoint of it. I think if we got a full strength side in here and we have Savia back, you know, eventually things will filter back and see Dagg off the bench, Ben Smith at 15, and a better looking side. But this is a chance here. This is the biggest cauldron of them all, as I've said, for Israel Dagg. Can he perform this time? So the All Blacks are the bookies' favourite for this one, getting a decent advantage over the Springboks, but it's a lot closer than they're even picking. The battle between the 10s again is going to be another big point, so the back line is going to be interesting. I think South Africa will have the advantage in the forwards, especially the front row with Woodcock, Coles and Franks. Probably not quite up to the level. I think Woodcock is definitely fading late in his career. Is he going to be good enough World Cup time to be a starting 15 player? I'm not too sure about that. The rest of it, the back row, that's going to be huge. Mesa, McCall, Reid against Brousseau, Lowe and Berger. I'm looking forward to that battle as well. And we have a seasoned veteran up against a young new look player as well, with Retallick and Broadhurst up against Etzebeth and De Jager. So I'm looking forward to all those matchups. A quick look through the All Black side before we move on to our second match for the weekend. We have Israel Dagg at fullback, Ben Smith on the right wing, Conrad Smith, Ma'anono in the centres, Piatel on the left wing, Sopawanga will be at 10, fly half, first 5, Aaron Smith at 9. Then the forwards, Kieran Reid, Richie McCaw, Liam Mess in the back row, Broadhurst and Retallick in the second, Franks, Coles and Woodcock in the front row. Dane Coles is a man I'm looking to dominate this match. He is so much more dynamic than the other hookers in the squad. Cody Taylor, probably the other player who's very much a Dane Coles mould as well, but still very inexperienced, and I expect to see him coming into the match later on as well to make an impact. He's a good runner of the ball, as is Dane Coles. Very fast for a hooker, which is something that the All Blacks are starting to mould into as well, having this very agile, very dynamic hooker in their squad. So that is the All Black side. On the bench, of course, Cody Taylor, Wyatt Crocker, Ben Franks, Sam Whitelock, Victor Vito, TJ Perenara, Beauden Barrett, and Malachi Fikatoa. Ellis Park, Johannesburg, set yourselves up, get the kickoff time, be there. I will be getting up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning if I'm even in bed. I might stay up and watch it, but if you're up and you're about, hit me up on Twitter. I would love to have some conversations on this match, which is going to be absolutely huge. I cannot wait for this one. My prediction, although I always want New Zealand to win, I think the Springboks might get up for this one, and I think that's a good thing. I kind of would like South Africa to get up for this one, because the All Blacks need not a wake-up call. They haven't been too lethargic about their preparations and that, but I just think for the good of international rugby, South Africa need to get this, or New Zealand will go into the World Cup as far, far, far too heavy favourites. South Africa by 2 is my pick. That's coming from my head. My heart says New Zealand by as many as it takes, but South Africa to get up just by a whisker. Another thrilling match, and either way, I'm not too worried who wins this one, as long as it is entertaining as we've seen at Ellis Park in the past. On to match number 2, and this one again is very well matched up from what we've seen last week as well. The two sides that didn't really play the complete match. South Africa didn't play a complete one either, but I thought they were good over a longer period than Australia. If you watched my review of last weekend's matches, you'll know I thought Australia were lucky to get away with that win after only playing 20 minutes of decent rugby, and then a rubbish try at the end, which is pretty lucky to be called, even touching the grass. But it is Argentina up against Australia, and this one is interesting because it's in Mendoza, which is the venue for which Argentina claimed their first ever rugby championship win against their opponents in this weekend's match as well, Australia. So I love this. This is great news. Argentina will be buzzing. They'll know this is their chance to get their second win, be it against Australia, be it against whoever. They won't care. They'll just want to win a match, and this is their chance. This is their biggest chance of all to get the victory. Argentina have made a number of changes coming into this match. 6 changes in their first 15. They have Sakino, Moroni, Camacho, Landajo, Lavanini and Decio coming into the side. Of course, a whole new centre pairing for the Argentinians with Moroni and Sakino coming in to 13 and 12 respectively. Of course, Kubeli and Landajo swap places pretty regularly, so that's no surprise to see those two swapping over. Then there's the changes, Lavanini in the second row and Decio in the back row on the blind side, which is an interesting change. Maybe an injury to Leguizamon, who was playing there last weekend, so that's an interesting change for the Argentinians. Plenty of changes though, and of course, as I mentioned last time, this team won Argentina 21-17 was the score in Mendoza when they got that victory over the Australians. So the forward pack is going to be the key thing, I think, for both of these sides. Argentina, if they're going to get anything out of this match, the forwards have to perform. So this is the big one here. Can this forward pack, Arteta, Creevy and Herrera's been pretty average in the last few weeks, a great player on top of his game or even in decent form, but when he's off touch like he has been recently, we saw 6 missed tackles from him in the match against the All Blacks, but they did make 21 altogether, so, you know, he was a major chunk of their mistakes, but that's going to be the big part for them, the forwards and the defence. If they can get dominance up front, I think their backs will look a lot more exciting, and they could make some big differences if they've got the opportunity. So of course they've got Camacho coming onto the right wing, Santiago Cordero going to full back from the wing, which he was last week, and of course Imhoff on the left wing. Fantastic little player. Sanchez again will run the cutter from 10, and I think he needs to pick up his game. This is his chance. He needs to step it up if he's going to really go to that next level and become, well, he already is the mainstay 10, but I think he needs to improve. For Argentina as a team to go forward, Sanchez needs to be someone who takes the team forward, playing in such a key position. Of course, he's still got plenty of time in his career to do so, has Nicolas Sanchez. So Argentina, they'll look to their forwards and they need their defence to be massive and really get one over the Wallabies side. So their team going into this match, of course, we've gone over most of it already. Cordero at fullback, Camacho on the right wing, and we have Moroni and Sakino at 13 and 12. Getting those two names is going to be interesting. Imhoff at 11 on the left wing, Sanchez 10, Landajo at 9, in the back row, Issa at 8, one-man team, Fernandez Lobby at 7, Decio 6, Lavanini and Carriza in the second row, Herrera, Creevy and Arteta in the front row. Creevy again will be important not only as a captain, but his impact with how the forwards play is going to be very, very important to Argentina. So on to their opponents, it will be the Wallabies, and the first off thing after the week of media throughout New Zealand about this Australian side is that the Wallabies are going to play 2 sevens. They can't decide whether they want Pocock or Hooper, and they're going to play both. How will this affect, you know, the team, the line out, the strength at the breakdowns and blah, 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 all that sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, come on, Australia, you know, break out of the mold. Do something different. Let's try something and see if this works for you. World Cup, you've got to have the point of difference. But no, they've let me down. They haven't gone with that, and they've decided to start Pocock instead of Hooper at 7, and they've put McCalman at 8 as well. So there's a number of changes for the Australians. They've got 7 changes in this team altogether, which is quite a whole host to be making, but I feel it's a step in the right direction as to getting this whole squad out there and trying things. That's what they need to do. So they got 3 enforced changes with Guinea, Giteau and Rob Horn all out for injuries. So that brings in Phibbs, Tumua and Tamani, which I'm glad to see Tamani there as well. I think he's a big impactful player, and alongside Ashley Cooper, who was very much the opposite to how Tamani plays. It could be interesting, that definite difference on the 2 wings. Other changes has been Bernard Foley coming in for Quade Cooper and Greg Holmes, David Pocock and Ben McCalman the new faces in the pack. So how good's this for Greg Holmes? You know, last week it was been years since he'd come on and played an international. Now he's starting. He's coming in for Kepu, which is a big call because Kepu was a big part of that front row, but he's got a chance to test himself and possibly one of the more difficult teams to test a front rower against as well, which is good. Good faith shown by Cheika and his coaching staff. So the Wallabies, all those changes, and it's going to be a big battle between two sides who really only played a good 20 minutes or so in the previous weekend. Argentina, when they scored those two great rolling maul tries for Creevy, that was their time. They were asleep for a good 15 minutes before that. They need to stay at that level where they scored those tries. They were on top of the game, and they made their opponents, the All Blacks, like, this is no mean feat. A lot of teams struggle with that. They made them question, you know, what was going on. The All Blacks were stunned for a bit there, and they were really going, what the hell is happening? We need to sort this out, which they did, of course, credit to them. But Argentina have that ability to really put their hammer down against their opponents. The Wallabies, well, is it rustiness? Was it just continuity that was missing against South Africa? I'm not sure, but they'll come good in this match. I'm hoping they should be off the whistle. A better side than we've seen. They should be up for this game because they know Argentina is capable of beating them. They cannot afford to lose another match, especially against Argentina. They need to be on top. They need to control the game, and they need to dominate the forward pack, which is going to be huge because their team will start at the forwards for this one, because this is the points that I'm most interested in. The forward pack of Slipper, Moore and Holmes, that's going to be a big part. Can they dominate, or can they control over Creevy, Alherza and Herrera in completely the wrong order there? But, you know, the All Blacks, last week I think the All Blacks did get one up, especially in the scrums over Argentina, which did surprise me very much. I thought Argentina would really poke home their advantage there, but they didn't manage it. Now can Australia. Two teams, especially with Pocock. I think another reason why they went with Pocock was because he is, well, we've seen it with the Brumbies, didn't we? He is a controller of the rolling maul. He knows how they work. He'll control their one for the Australians, and he'll know good ways to get in and upset the Argentinian one as well. We've seen Will Skelton over the season, a man capable of disrupting the rolling maul as well. So I think that's a point Australia is going to really target. So the rest of the team is Skelton and Simmons in the second row. I think Skelton needs a massive game. He was an absolute mug in the last week, and I just seen things around the field from him that I did not like in terms of, you know, keeping himself out of trouble. I think, you know, someday in a World Cup semi-final, World Cup quarter-final, you know, a pool-defining match, whatever point it could be, Skelton is someone who can get upset, is someone who can get a bit flustered, so he needs to keep his emotions intact. He needs to step up his game and realise that when you're not winning, you can't take matters into your own hands. You need to believe in your team and step it up as a unit. Rob Simmons, he's the man next to him, and he needs to keep his young man in control as well. Scott Fardy, David Pocock and Ben McCalman. Interesting, they've gone with McCalman and they've got rid of Higginbotham, who has been this outstanding player. But I like it because it's Australia trying things, expanding and getting all the squad into the game. I also notice they've got Dean Mumm on the bench as well, which I'm interested to see if he's up to the level of playing back internationally again. Also, there's news coming in from Australia that Leinster have released their Wallabies player, Kane Douglas. He is out of his contract as well now, so he is coming back, and he is ready to go pretty much as soon as possible for the Wallabies, as soon as this weekend, although they haven't, and that hasn't eventuated, but straight back into it, and that will be a big addition to their second row. And I think Dean Mumm will need to show something off the bench here, because they've got a lot of players, especially in the second row, who could be or could not be capable of stepping up to World Cup level. Into the back line, Phibbs and Foley reunited at 9 and 10. What sort of Bruno Foley are we going to see this weekend for Australia? We will find out in a couple of days' time. Bruno Foley, of course, inconsistent at the best through the dying stages of Super Rugby, and hopefully for Australia's sake and for the match's sake, he can get up for this one. Tamani is on the left wing. Tumua comes in to the centres with Kurandrani. So Tamua definitely sparked up the game last weekend against South Africa. So he's going to be a massive part. If he can keep that level up, I think there should be good things from Foley and Tamua together at 10 and 12. Kurandrani at outside centre. And Amashi Cooper on the right wing. And of course Israel Folau at fullback. And that is it. Israel Folau needs a bit of a match as well. He should be set to go to carve up. He's been pretty quiet this international season so far. Can he step it up here against the Argentinians? On the bench, interestingly enough, they have Cooper and Beale, which I'm interested to see where and what impact they come on with as well. I presume Cooper will come on at 10, but currently Beale, I'm not sure where they're going to put him, and do they want to blood him a bit at 15? I think that's not a bad idea. If I was an Australian, I would be worried about what backup there is at fullback. We know your Beale can play there and O'Connor can play there, but do you really want to rush someone in who hasn't played for the Wallabies, let alone at fullback for a few weeks or months at an important time of your season? That's going to be a big call. Will they try that? We'll find out as well in the matchup. For this result, I would love to go Argentina, and I think they could go 2 in a row against Australia, depending which team turns up. You know, these sides were both very inconsistent last weekend. Didn't show a full 80-minute performance, didn't even show a consistent 80-minute performance as well. Australia should be too strong, but I'd like to see Argentina get up and win this one by 4 points. That is my call. I'm expecting to go 0-2 from this weekend as well, because I've gone a bit against the grain, but it will be interesting to see how they go. And I think both teams in both matches are capable of winning these games. Not like last weekend where the All Blacks, you know, they were favourites, and well, South Africa were favourites as well for their match. But, you know, this one, Argentina at home, very much capable in Mendoza. They know they can win there. They've won there before. It is all theirs for the taking. And that is my time done and dusted for this preview of this weekend's matches. 2 big ones. One massive one, really. The All Blacks and South Africa. That one is Sunday morning. I will be up there for that. If you are up as well, do follow me on Twitter at CornflakesCrib. Get in touch with me. Throw some banter out. We always have some fantastic chat on there as well. Giving up some just great comments, some great chat between all you guys as well, which is great. Hope to see you all there as well for that one. Now remember, this is just my opinion, so let me know what your opinion of these matches is as well, who you think's going to win and who you think will be standout performance for these two sides. I'll be back again in a couple of days for a review of these two matchups and what we've learned, who performed, who's not performing, and of course injuries will be a big part, of course, heading into the big one, the World Cup, only a couple of months away. So thank you all for tuning in and watching. Hope you've enjoyed this little preview, and I'll see you all next time for plenty more rugby discussion. Until then, take care.